You never have to receive an email again. My Codex has its own inbox.
That's insane. Companies are actually going to get richer if agents start having paid seats. That's actually a pretty insane idea when you think about it.
The internet is just going to be rebuilt in order to make them the new first-class citizen.
What do you think will sound normal in 6 months that actually sounds like stupidly futuristic right now?
AI employees, they're not a faraway concept. They're already here.
Companies of tomorrow will have more AI agents than humans running the show. I'm François, founder of Pancake, the platform that lets you stack expert agents that run your business with you. We're in San Francisco interviewing the top 1% of YC founders that literally live in the future and have agents doing most of their work. Welcome to the age of high leverage.
Today we're interviewing Adi from AgentMail, the founder of AgentMail, and AgentMail is reinventing email. It's not agents that do email, it's actually email for agents. This is one of the hottest companies in San Francisco right now. And Adi is with us today. Hey Adi, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I just added a bit of pressure on top. Cool, so can you explain to us what you guys do and maybe the backstory of how this company started?
Yeah, of course. So as you described it, it's not AI for your email, it's email for your AI. So very simply what that means is an API that gives agents your own email inbox. You can think of it as Gmail, but designed for agents instead of humans as the first-class user. The way the company actually came to be was through a get-rich-quick idea that we had. And it was, what if we could spin up a bunch of Shopify stores to sell things on the internet, farm the free trials of every single new account and new store that we created, and have agents just sell things for free, right? It sounds perfect. It sounds like a great idea.
I love it.
But as you can imagine by me sitting here, it didn't really work out as we wanted it to. One problem was the models, they just were not good enough. The second problem was it was really hard to programmatically spin up an email address for my agent. We tried using the Gmail API, we tried using things like SendGrid, and it just didn't work. There was nothing that was purpose-built for agents. And we started thinking about the primitives of email is fundamental to you and I's identity on the internet. It's how we communicate, it's how we sign up for services, it's how we verify who we are, so many different things. And in a world where agents are gonna be this next big thing and the new first-class user of the internet, they're probably going to need to start with the surfaces of today. And what that surface is email. We started building, this was in November 24. We validated for 6-7 months until we had some design partners close and work in our favor. Then we applied to YC, got in, raised our seed round 3-4 months after, and now we're a team of 10 in San Francisco trying to give every agent its own email inbox.
Do you feel agents now have email addresses thanks to you guys? Soon they'll probably have phone numbers. In many cases, they already do have phone numbers.
Yeah.
To what extent do you think agents are going to become very similar to actual employees in terms of the stack they have access to? Will they use the same tools as humans? What's your vision on that?
That's a great question. So I would draw it to the parallel of OpenClaw, for example. And I think OpenClaw is a fantastic product. It did a lot for our company, but I don't look at it as rocket science. Like, I don't think OpenClaw was this new magical thing. I think it got the fundamentals right of agents live where you live. I can access an agent through my Telegram, through my Slack, through my WhatsApp, and it would still be stateful. It would have a bias towards action. And in some cases, it would be long running, right? And the harness was engineered in a way to make that feel like magic the first time we saw it, as opposed to using GPT or Claude over and over again. Considering that, I think the part of the magic that makes OpenClaw work and feel like this big intuitive thing is it just lives where you live. So the fact that an agent has a phone number means everyone who has a phone number can also interact with it. They can text it, they can call it. There's great people like Poke, for example, very cool company where it's okay, you can just text my agent, right? And that's the same thing we followed, whereas okay, email is the universal protocol. It's not really gated to a carrier. It's not confined within like a specific platform like a Slack and WhatsApp. It's just what everyone uses to use the internet. So that's where we decided, okay, email would be our wedge. And we see a lot of agents starting to use email as of right now.
It's funny because one of the use cases that we saw at Pancake that I did not anticipate is that users don't use the email address to send emails to their agents,
Yeah.
but they actually use it to sign up their agents in the same tools as they use. For example, they're on Google Analytics.
Yeah.
Instead of just giving Pancake access to their own Google Analytics, they'll just sign up their agent via email so that the agent has its own account. And in certain cases, they actually pay an extra seat for their agents.
Yeah.
And so it feels SaaS companies are actually going to get richer if agents start having paid seats. That's actually a pretty insane idea when you think about it. And I'm not sure it's the most optimal way to use AgentMail, but it's something we've noticed a lot.
No, 100%. And I actually just wrote an article today, which was like, you never have to receive an email again. And the premise...
Okay, let's zoom on that. Wait.
Yeah.
Okay, say that again. I want to talk about
It sounds
that.
crazy, I know. So today I wrote this article, which was, you never have to receive an email again. And what that use case is effectively, I have had 2 of my personal inboxes just die. And what I mean by dying is thousands and thousands of emails. I'm going to receive a lot of important things. I'm never going to see them. And no amount of AI on my email, whether it's Gemini, whether it's Superhuman, is going to help me find them because it's just overflowing. And I thought that you can solve this, whatever, right? It's fine. But I realized it's like a very structural thing. And when you sign up for a service, you essentially incur a noise tax where that service is going to send you all its updates, all its promotions, all its marketing material, try to upsell you, right? And try to advertise to you. So when you have an inbox over that long of a time, you essentially just can't sign up for services anymore. There's been a lot of things when I go to clothing brands, when I go to things I actually like, I'm like, okay, I don't want to receive these emails. I'm not going to sign up. So what I'm using AgentMail for is I never need to be the one who can sign up again. My agent can just sign up.
So your agent becomes the router that basically gets all your emails.
Exactly.
Does your agent forward the important emails? Like, do you trust your agent to actually understand which are the important emails? And you don't even look at the inbox for the rest?
Yeah, exactly. So it can be either of those things. So if I wanted to autonomously forward it, it can. But the great thing is that I use Codex. A lot of people use Claude and ChatGPT. If you give your LLMs their own inbox, then you can filter and you can kind of use the chat interface to see, okay, these are the emails I received. Tell me which ones are important.
So your inbox is Codex.
Yeah, my Codex has its own inbox.
That's insane. Okay,
Yeah.
so when you want to check your email, you just ask Codex, what emails did I receive?
Yeah.
What should I pay attention to?
Yeah. And there's so many different things. I was actually testing and I was like, hey, Codex, can you use your email address to make me a reservation in North Beach
My God.
for 2?
Yeah.
It did it.
Yeah.
It did it. It's insane. The models are good enough. The models are very good. All they needed is an identity, something that's persistent, and then it falls in line of the tools they need, the context they have, the permission they have, right? And it stems a lot with identity.
Are we going to be playing a game of cat and mouse with, obviously the email was a good way for the website to filter out agents and to make sure it's actually interacting with a human.
Yeah.
Then you're going to have Captchas. Those are probably going to start popping up more and more because websites don't want agents to use them. Captchas are probably going to be solved at some point. Do you see this as like a cat and mouse, or do you think at some point websites are just going to be like, you know what, I'll just be agent first and I'll just accept that my website is just going to be used by agents and that's fine?
Yeah, 100%. And I think Google's actually working on a protocol for this called like Web MCP.
Yeah.
And it's effectively search, like every single website through search becomes like an API. And you can make tool calls directly based off that website. And I think in the long run, humans will use agents to build software and probably navigate the internet. And everything would be abstracted away into kind of like an API that agents can use. And it's probably going to be like programmatic, right? Through and through. So yeah, that's my vision on the world.
I love that vision. Do you think that agents browsing the web is a bug? Like it's not a feature, it's an actual bug. They should not be browsing the web. They should just access via API or via MCP or...
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a hot take. I'll say this. I think there's arguments to be made for both.
Okay.
The browser was an abstraction made for humans, but like 85% of websites, I think, don't have a reliable API. And most of the knowledge work that you do as a human is constrained to the browser. So I think there's a massive opportunity, and like some of these companies working on browser infrastructure are going to be huge. But in the long run, where you look at 10, 20, 30 years from now, I would argue that it makes a lot more sense for agents to have programmatic ways of doing things. And in that case, we already see like the hype with MCP, for example. MCP has had a resurgence. You can argue that MCP is like an unnecessary abstraction over the API, but still form factors where it's very intuitive and programmatic for an agent to use, sign up, and discover your service probably seems like the right bet to make for me.
That makes sense. If we zoom back a bit, I'd love to talk about your personal relation to AI. Can you walk me through your ChatGPT moment, the day you discovered ChatGPT? What was it like? What happened? What did you do with ChatGPT?
Oh my God.
And how did you react? Like, what did you immediately realize that the world was about to change?
Oh man. So ChatGPT actually happened on a very interesting moment for me. It was during college applications.
Oh yeah.
And a big part of applying to college is the common paper. I remember it took me months to write my common paper, and it was just about getting the right idea, then committing to it, and then using Grammarly, revising, refining it over a constant period of weeks. Then ChatGPT happened, and I was writing my college essay for Harvard.
That's insane.
So I put my prompt in. I was like, okay, show me what you can do. Amazing. And it was two things which stood out. One was there's no need for Grammarly anymore, as you can imagine. The second thing was the speed of idea generation, albeit at the time it didn't really have great ideas. But I would say the same fundamentals apply right now. Is I don't think Opus has great ideas. I think I'm still the one with good ideas, but Opus helps me think and helps me think about more directions and where I can take things. With ChatGPT, that established where it's like an LLM can almost think for you. You can say, hey, I understand your intent. You can clarify your prompt, and it's not going to take you all the way there, but it's going to give you a good idea where to go and things you never even thought about or wouldn't have thought about. So I'm really excited about idea generation and what that unlocked back in the day and what that unlocks now.
I remember there was a wave when ChatGPT came out when half the people were saying, okay, this is unbelievable. The world's about to change. And the other half was saying, okay, let's just relax a bit. Okay, this is something big. But the word agent didn't even exist back then.
Yeah.
It was more about large language models as just being a probabilistic model that basically was very good at guessing the next word and could help you write poetry. And so I think very few people that I met back then actually had this very clear vision of where the world was going.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I think neither of us lived in San Francisco at the time.
Yeah.
Maybe some people here were more aware than others. But what was your immediate reaction, and to what extent were you convinced that the world was about to change at the time?
I think honestly, I had a very mild reaction where I was like, okay, this is cool. It's kind of like the builder of, okay, this did something for me. Right? I think being able to come up with ideas very quickly and also semantically clarify what I want as opposed to Google just kind of doing it on a keyword basis was the real unlock.
Okay.
It was like, okay, this product understands me to an extent and understands what I want. And at the time too, I don't know if you remember, it felt like a lot like Google, right? Like
you're right.
Sometimes it would mismatch, but the moments it would get it right, it was good. I think my real unlock for where I saw the world was going was in the early days of agents, and this would be like Baby AGI, AutoGPT, Letta. These are all very early movers in the space.
Yeah.
And I thought intuitively that made a lot of sense to me, where the form factor of AI seems like a coworker and seems like more that it can do things for me rather than telling me or clarifying what I mean and then doing some research on it that wasn't really that good and then going from there. And that's what kind of unlocked the vision and potential for Agent too.
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the unlocks for me was realizing that the outputs of AI didn't have to be text.
Yeah.
It could actually be tools.
Yeah.
And in those tools, it could be deterministic code, but it could actually be another prompt that could lead to another task, or maybe sub-prompts that could lead to several tasks together. And then the ramifications were infinite.
Yeah.
And that's how you could just become creative and say, okay, you know what? I can do all this stuff with AI that's not just create poetry and create stuff.
Yeah.
But I think one of the interesting things here is we used to say AI is good for creating text. Then we started saying, oh, AI is actually good for also executing tools and doing workflows.
Yeah.
And now some people are saying AI is actually good for running autonomous tasks. Just give it a goal and it does stuff. A lot of people haven't necessarily checked out the goals feature in Codex, where you just say, this is the goal. It iterates until it's able to achieve that goal.
Yeah.
I guess the big question is now, are actual entire parts of a business going to be run autonomously? Is that the next frontier? Do you find that a credible frontier, or do you think that's probably never going to happen because there's a lacking human element? What's your take on that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say I'm probably somewhere in the middle. where /goal, I don't necessarily look at it as this is like something incredible and out of the blue, as opposed to it's a way to get humans to prompt better and actually make sure and clarify this is what I want and what I'm building towards. And I think /goal, when it applies to coding tasks too, sometimes you are just like, okay, do this for me. But if there can be a command which helps you establish more context as to why this task is necessary and what the big picture is, it becomes helpful. So that's my take. But I think in itself alone, that is amazing. That's phenomenal. And if humans can prompt better, the better the models can execute on tasks and chain together these different workflows that are needed. But in the case of autonomous businesses, we actually work with quite a few. I look at them as more so centered around the human itself than taking the human. Because the way we're building this startup, the way your goals, your priorities, your expectations change and shift, you need to be able to do that, and you need to iterate that on the fastest pace imaginable. So you need a human to be establishing not just the one /goal of go make me a unicorn. It's, okay, how can I get to the next phase? So I'm a lot more fan of the one person, $100 billion company where there is one person establishing what the agents need to do constantly and is technical enough to understand the agents and their capabilities versus agents running a business from the ground.
Right. So it's more like a superpowered human that has an infinite number of agents that allow it to have just a massive leverage.
Yeah.
But human at the center, meaning that all the agents report back in a way that's still scalable.
Exactly.
'Cause you can't have 500 direct reports.
Exactly. And I think somewhere along those lines is what we mentioned was idea generation and the speed of idea generation.
Yeah.
And if you have an agent from a different model working with an agent that has a different role, a different model, a different context, right? All these things combine to give you more and more ideas on what to execute on. So I think that is really the part which is also interesting, where it's like when you work with a ton of agents, can they lead you in a direction that's much better than just, okay, they're doing the mundane work. Can they give you an idea that 100x is your company? And it's very true for us.
Yeah. What's the biggest oh shit moment you've recently had with one of your customers that's using AgentMail?
Oh man, there's a lot to pick from.
I can imagine.
I would say AI employees, they're not a far away concept, they're already here. And we're seeing a lot of people come in and they're like, hey, I don't want AgentMail because I want to give one agent an inbox. I want to give thousands of agents. I want to give hundreds of thousands of agents. I want to give millions of agents their own email inbox. And what that looks like in the architecture that we previously designed for, which was like, okay, API spins up a lot of inboxes, has all these tool calls, is very different from the company that we are now and where we're headed towards, which is platform infrastructure for agents and infrastructure that our customers can use to build non-human email systems and identity systems. How do you make sure that there's data isolation and separation? How do you make sure an agent doesn't have access to resources it shouldn't have access to? How do you make sure it has the right permissions, the right scopes, it's iterable, it's granular? And if you were to take all these agents that we're providing and you're able to put them in an org chart for an enterprise, that comes with a whole host and a whole set of new responsibilities. So what I'll say is a lot of people think initially to get this idea off the ground, I'd say we had a ton of intuition about what the market would need. But now we rely a lot on what one customer tells us and combining our intuition to build for what the rest of the market would need. And for now, I'm really happy with the job we've been able to do.
That's really cool. I'm imagining those hundreds of thousands of agents that have emails.
Yeah.
I'm imagining an HR agent that manages them. I'm imagining an entire org chart. Literally a company of AI agents, because it's just like a direct report. Having an agent that gives you a direct report is noise that you have to deal with. Oftentimes it's asking you to do stuff. And so at some point we are probably going to have middle management AI managing agents say, okay, you report back to this AI middle manager who's going to filter out the noise. For example, the AI CMO is going to have an AI SEO employee.
Yeah.
An AI outreach employee,
A whole
and just do a single digest with everything.
Yep.
That's a pretty insane vision. Is it going to sound insane in 6 months?
No,
Probably not.
I don't think so. I think it's like with OpenClaw too, is like, why didn't this exist?
Yeah.
Right. And when the next structural shift happens, they expect the tools, the infrastructure to be there. So.
And that was actually one of my questions is, what do you think will sound normal in 6 months that actually sounds stupidly futuristic right now?
I would say there's still a lot of molding and there's still a lot of this agent needs to act like a human and needs to do everything like a human would do. I think people are going to get comfortable with the general behavior of agents, which is they're not perfect. but they can do one job really well. And they can automate that task. They can be stateful. They can do that task. They're not like some sort of almighty general purpose agent that the world is kind of expecting them to, right? For example, I'll give you is setting up an agent in Slack is really hard. You have to set up a bot token, and then you have to give it 3 different OAuth scopes. And for the average person, it's okay, it took me this long to do it for one agent. That's it. I'm going to feed everything to that agent. And I have one called Jarvis. It does a lot more than it should. But I think what you will expect to see is people will get comfortable with agents as a co-worker. And that means having their own identities, having their own permissions, being able to reach out to them when necessary, but not relying on them to do everything, and not optimizing for things like, oh, it needs to have low latency. It needs to feel like a human. It needs to look like a human. Because the world is just headed so far away from that.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think someone from your team coined the phrase or used the phrase at some point that agents are the new internet citizens. And I love that phrase. Citizens have duties and rights. What would that look like for an agent?
Yeah, I think there's a few things. So I would say there's a pillar of identity, payment, and maybe authentication as well.
Is there going to be a credit score for agents at some point?
I could 100% see it. I actually know a few people who are working on insurance for agents.
That's insane.
And I love it. I love it because the blast radius for an agent, like when you go in the enterprise, there's no audit trail because they've been assigned the same identity, and it looks like, okay, my cursor is coding. The agents, the models are good, so the cursor agent will go make 10 PRs without the human knowing. And CISOs are looking around scratching their heads like, oh, even the human didn't know that they made this PR, even though it's under their name. So I think all these different things in the point of citizens you mentioned, of insurance for agents, credit cards for agents, credit scores for agents, bank accounts for agents, who we actually work with. There's a company doing this. It's called Clawbank. Emails for agents, phone numbers for agents. All of these things need to exist. And the internet is just going to be rebuilt in order to make them the new first-class citizen. And I see humans handing it off to agents.
Let's talk about the infrastructure behind all of this. You're working with a ton of companies who are trying to make this dream of the internet citizen come true, of autonomous agents that actually bring a lot of ROI. What's the underlying thing that no one sees that you see at AgentMail? And maybe let's try to keep this as simple for people who are not engineers.
Yeah, I would say this. And this goes for anyone watching and thinking about building their own company. You see the flash in the pan. You see the glory, the glamour of SF. These guys are so technical. These guys are so great. And when you boil it down, every single startup is facing the same problem as every single model provider, which is facing the same problem as every single compute provider, which is what are actually the use cases. So a lot of times when we work with companies, they are so early, and it's very nice because you're in this feel of, okay, we're all trying to make it. We're all trying to make it. And I'll say this, I can't say publicly, but we work with some big companies. And the amount of uncertainty there is and how much it predicates on just anyone watching leveraging agents is what people don't understand, right? So I would say you will see all these companies raising billions of dollars predicated on enterprise spend. But the one thing I would want to think about is small, medium businesses, consumers who are building some sort of side hustle the same way we were, who are monetizing. What is the way they're automating? Can you get a deep understanding? And if you do, if you get the use case, even if it's just one, you're probably onto something big. And you can just iterate on that and expand, because once you get one use case down, you get a lot of them down.
Yeah, that's cool. Completely different subject, but I'd love you to talk to us about the culture you have at AgentMail. What's it like? Are you in the 996 culture? What's a day like at AgentMail?
Oh, man.
Maybe how many humans are you and how many agents are you at AgentMail?
We are 12 people at the moment. In terms of the culture, so we don't do a hard 996. We do work 6 days a week, generally come in the office. I think the culture we've tried to establish is people are a lot more motivated when they see the numbers going up instead of seeing the clock going down every day. So part of that is I don't want to be bossing people. I don't want to be saying, do this. I think in our hiring process, we make it very clear who we are, what we look for, and are you going to have some buy-in? And that's how we think about these things, where we want to make the right hires. We want people who are not going to ask and who are not going to look for directions, but they're going to set the direction. And I think every single startup should think about this. In those first few hires really dictate the tone, the culture for your company, and they kind of set it on autopilot. What we look for is people who bring spikes rather than fill the gaps, because eventually people with enough spikes are going to fill all the gaps and take you to heights you never even dreamed of before.
Yeah, that's good. Spikes, not gaps. I like it. So AgentMail and Pancake are working together. AgentMail is powering all the emails for the Pancake users, making a lot of companies at least semi-autonomous, and that's really cool. We're creating a lot of new internet citizens every day. Do you remember how that happened? I think you were talking to my co-founder. How did all of this happen? Did it go quickly? I'd love to get your insight on what happened there.
Yeah, this is why I say distribution is king these days, because I'm pretty sure it was one of the Twitter launches that brought you guys in. And as soon as I saw the inbound, I was like, okay, I really like what they're doing. And then let's get them in a Slack, right? And I think for anyone watching, the typical way for new startups to get in touch is, okay, Twitter launch, Slack, how can we get you started? And I remember you guys came to us with the use case of, hey, Adi, we might need a lot of inboxes. And it's very interesting because for an infra company, for a company more on the application layer, it is in your best interest to work together. And I think the philosophy we have, and we're really happy now that we're working with you guys, this is like, how can we get you to success as soon as possible? So it's not about how can I squeeze you for every single dime and make you consider, do you want to build this in-house or do you want to just look for alternatives? It's more so, okay, this is a really good use case for us. I have a very big bet that you guys are going to scale. If you win, I win. How can we get you to success, right? So yeah, I think we have a very ad hoc of, okay, whatever you need, it's on us. We got you. And we'll go from there.
And I think that I found really fun with the relationship we have. So we have a common Slack channel, we have a Slack Connect, and that's something that we have with a lot of companies here in San Francisco that we work with, a lot of our suppliers and customers. I think I have over 350 Slack Connects really actually active right now. So we spend a lot of time on common channels, which is, I think it's a really productive way to talk to others. That being said, what I found really cool is that I remember you mentioned uncertainty. I think like everyone is sharing the same uncertainty, like what will the future be like? Who's going to succeed? Even the positioning we have at Pancake, where it used to be really centered on solo founders and now it's becoming a bit different. I think that you guys at AgentMail, I see you evolving, you see us evolving. And that's something I find really cool in this relationship is how all these companies in this ecosystem in San Francisco and in the world are just like evolving together.
100%.
And it feels like we're all pushing AI at the very frontier, creating the concept of identity for AI agents, creating the concept of autonomy for businesses, 100%. And making that work together. Just takes work from all these infrastructure layer, more agentic layer, and all of this working together is pretty insane to see.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think it's going to take that. It's going to take that, right? Because you guys can probably give me visibility into something that I've never seen before of how people will use agents. And that can become huge as you scale up. And then I think for us, it's okay. We can kind of design for these email problems and some of these things before you never have to worry about them. You never have to worry about bad deliverability. Bad IPs, an agent getting prompt injected. Our goal is to kind of take care of the box, and the more people we partner with, the better it gets for everyone.
I feel like a big part of building Pancake was we have all these bugs linked to the fact that businesses were not meant to be run by AI. And we're trying to solve them one by one. And as soon as we can outsource it, we're like, oh yes. Like, AgentMail, finally, that's so cool. We can outsource that part. Then we're working with another company for phone. But in many cases, we cannot outsource it and we have to do it ourselves. You mentioned creating agents in Slack. It's actually super hard. So that part we had to create our own Slack plugin. That's actually pretty complex. So I just can't wait to see all those credit cards for agents, whatever for agents. And I think the ecosystem is just growing at a crazy pace. But it's really cool to be in it.
100%. No time like the present.
The future is moving so fast. Everything's moving so fast. And I feel like even OpenClaw was such a hot topic a few months ago and it's not as hot now. What could replace AgentMail? Will there be AgentMail in 2040? Will there even be email?
I would say, I'm not sure about email. I am pretty sure about AgentMail. Because when we started this company, our vision was very clear, and it is the same now too, which is agents need identity, agent needs communication, agents need to be stateful, and we're building the tools in the ecosystem to provide that. So I think how we evolve, the principles have already been established. It's more so of executing them and doing it fast enough and really understanding the primitives needed for this kind of first-class user that's emerging. So I'm really happy with email because email gives us access to so many of these different things that we see that we've been asked for months and months on the topic of you mentioning, okay, like what are the other things that an agent would need? So having the chance to build all those and have them be predicated on this initial product is pretty cool. And I think in 2040, would I expect an agent to communicate and identify using SMTP? Probably not. Probably not. But I do think email is going to be the basis of a lot of different things, and the opportunity AgentMail has to be the bridge between the old and the new.
Love it. Thanks, man.
Thank you for having me. This is awesome. This is so fun.
Yeah, that was fun.